Behind this tonight's warm-up is one of the most common responses that I receive as a spiritual workout facilitator in conversation with people who are engaging spiritual workout, privately, publicly, tapping, intention setting, drop-in, on the street, whatever, is oftentimes a yeah, but. Well, yeah, I know all about taking responsibility, but, or I know I'm really needing to be compassionate here, but you know what I'm talking about. So there's this global pandemic, which is bearing down on us all in the ways that it's bearing down on us individually and collectively. So what doesn't change as far as spiritual workout practice goes is anything. There are no buts. So I don't have a nice big board behind me to point and run around with. I'm just looking at the array of concepts in front of me. I invite you to pull yours up pull a list up if you want to. You don't have to. And I just want to touch on some of the concepts and just in a very, very general way address this pandemic from this perspective, and more specifically from the perspective of any of us individual spiritual beings having our human experience. So in no particular order, compassion certainly comes into it, right? To be compassionate. There are so many opportunities in a situation like this to be compassionate with ourselves, to be compassionate toward as far out as you can extend that. There are people who are dealing with people who are nervous and scared and potentially sick. There are people who are potentially sick. There are people who are sick. There are people who now, are losing work and income, and the instability is rising way up. So I know for sure that in your own life, you can find many ways to be compassionate. Being present with the whole situation, such as it is, certainly requires for each of us to proceed based on information that we judge to be truthful and accurate. And fundamentally, it's really filtering any of it that comes at us through our own system and really listening to inspiration. Is this a source that I trust? Does this feel right to me? And using whatever resources they are, friends, relatives, newspapers, internet, whatever. It's just we've lived long enough to know that information is not in short supply. Accurate information that is of use and value is in the mix of all of it. And the more fine-tuned we are in our ability to listen to inspiration, the easier it will be in a situation like this to discern. The law of attraction is always on. We know that. That means that what shows up in our reality in terms of information is also a reflection of who we are. There's no right or wrong to ever being who we are. There's no right or wrong to ever being whoever we are in any given present moment, right? And there will be a correlation between who we are and what we think about and the energy that we're putting out and what's coming to us. it's not usually necessarily an absolute direct match, because we do live in this time space reality. But we all know there are different styles of personality, there are different ways we have as humans to react to and respond to what's happening. And as we think and talk about information coming to us, the more finely tuned again we are, in alignment, living in a space of higher vibration, the more a match for that, the more that the information that comes to us will be a match for that. If we find that information is coming to us and we can't really discern, or listen to inspiration muscle is not quite operating, and we're feeling overwhelmed and we don't know what to think, what to believe, what to trust, well, that's an opportunity. That's evidence that our own system, our own energy is scattered. So the best thing we can do right off the bat is, again, to align with the truth of who we are. We just did a quick little tapping session to just bring us into the present moment. There are all manner of tools that any of us can use to do that, which brings us right into intentions matter as well. Regardless of anything that's going on, do you have an intention or a set of intentions that are helping to guide you through this, perhaps for your own physical health, perhaps for what you like to see with regard to our politics and our government, with regard to anything. So whether it's an intention for your own personal self or an intention that you might have for society, culture, any of these, if you have them, align with them. If you don't, and the situation today is perhaps calling upon you to do that, that's an excellent opportunity. You might as well set a shiny, clear intention for something about what's going on that's bugging you that you would prefer to experience. Now, of course, we are here for a reason means we are here for a reason. There isn't a single one of us who is contending with what we're contending with by accident. Now, as we've discussed here many, many times, if it's enough to just accept that and move on about your day, and there's nothing particularly, and it's all you can, and you're just, doing what you can and want to do to go with the program, fantastic. But if it's really bothering you, if you're really having a hard time settling into or accepting or dealing with what's going on, if you find yourself in a lot of resistance, the question that we ask here is, well, here I am in this crappy situation that is not to my liking. If you're in that space, I don't want to be here at all, but I'm here. So who do I have to be right now? What muscle do I have to grow or develop in order to navigate to a more peaceful place, assuming that that's what you want to do? So there's exploration there. We know that for the most part, the answer to that question it can come like that, and sometimes it does. In my experience, that's about 10, 12% of the time. Most of the time, it requires some deeper inquiry. Who do I have to be? What muscle do I have to grow or develop? What trait or attribute, if I had, would really help me here? That's kind of what that's all about. Now, Delilah and I were talking about this earlier. Situations like this really, really bring our belief systems to the fore. What do I believe about what everybody else is saying? What do I believe about what is happening? What do I believe about what I should do? Right? And if you're really playing this game the way I think you are, you'll find that right there is an incredibly rich area. and a fantastic opportunity to learn about yourself, right? And decide. So you find yourself, you have this list of beliefs that are coming up that are obvious from what's going on. And then, like we do with any list of beliefs, which ones of these actually am I happy to have and serve me, and which ones don't? And if they don't, that's essentially a dump list. Throw it on there and bring it to uh, the tapping clinic or whatever else you want to do to help discreate some of those beliefs. But I promise you that situations like this, any situation that's particularly challenging for us, uh, is a situation that will bring our belief system, like I say, to the fore. And it's just a great opportunity to look at what that's about. Now, of course, choices abound. And so what we learn here is that, and the main point of that idea, they abound, they're just always around, is because most of the time we've been unconscious of the choices that we're making throughout the course of any given day or week or month. And much of the choice that we're talking about is choosing what to think, choosing what to believe, right? So another gigantic idea right here that we talk about in spiritual workout all the time, with or without a pandemic going on, is there's what happens and there's what we make it mean. What we make it mean is a set of beliefs, right? It's one or more beliefs. So that's another way that belief comes into this whole thing. So asking yourself as you go through, and we go through this all together and yet individually, what am I believing about this right now? And do I want to choose to continue believing that? Or do I want to make a different choice? So you'll find that you have plenty of opportunity for that. I just want to hit on two more. One is very, very obvious, which is we are all connected, and everything means what it means, as we're saying. And there's something about this particular thing called pandemic and virus and everything that I think just makes the fact that we are all connected that much more obvious. And yeah, exactly. That's why sitting in one's house and simply holding a vibration that is perhaps higher than freak out or anxiety or panic or fear or anxiety or doubt, and living in, I'm hanging out, I feel good, I'm strong, I can do right. And so the other thing from there, choices, and this has to do with inspiration. What are we inspired to do? So for every person that's inspired to stay home and hold their vibration, which is actually doing something positive, right? There's somebody else who needs to be on the front lines, and where's my mask and where's my thing, and who needs the help, and who's, right? So that again has to do with listening to inspiration for what actions to take. So the last thing that I want to touch on, which is a little more subtle, and we don't always get to this concept, I loves when we do. We belong to the planet, not the planet to us, right? So this has inside it so many things. And one of the things that's inside this is the concept of change. We all know that statement, that idea that the only constant we have is change, that the planet specifically is always in a state of change. I'm in New York right now, but I often talk to you from the mountains, my two homes. And, when I'm in the mountains and in the forest, you really see all day long, things are just changing. Wait, that tree wasn't doing that this morning. And what happened to that? And there was a nest there before, right? And there's constant change. So now we human beings, virtually everywhere, are having to contend with a little to a whole lot of change. So there's a component of what's going on here that asks us to consider how responsive we are to change. Do we kind of just go with the flow no matter what's happening and welcome change, or do we resist at every turn? Do we believe that it's human nature to resist change? It's not. Right? So this fundamentally, this type of thing and other things like it, big events, will really signal to us that something has changed. So now it's up to each of us individually to negotiate and navigate how we move through said change. So nice deep breath with me if you would. We could obviously go on and on and on about that, but we won't right now. Because now we'll spend the rest of the evening talking about what you want to talk about.